My name is Dylan Dewdney. I am the lead and founder of a project called NFT3. We were invested in, our lead investor was Animoca Ventures, and that was about a year and a half ago. And just in terms of some of my background, I've been an enthusiast in this space since 2011, late 2011, and I've been building since 2017. Something about the things that Rainbow had said about Web3 and about weirdos and about magic was at that time in 2011, all the way probably until maybe 2017, nobody even knew what I was talking about when I would come up to them and say, hey, I'm really interested in this thing called Bitcoin. I'm interested in thing later on called Ethereum, et cetera, et cetera. And what I want to do is I want to have the same conversation with everyone here, but over a different technology called decentralized identifiers. Now, the title of the talk is Identity and NFTs, and it's a slight misnomer because I won't be primarily talking about NFTs, but I'll be talking a little bit more about identity. So raise your hand, everyone here, if you have a crypto wallet. Okay, this is great. Do you think you would have had a crypto? Raise your hand if 7 years ago you had a crypto wallet. Okay, all right, we got the early adopter right there. Now, raise your hand, everybody in the room, if you have been issued or if you've issued yourself essentially a decentralized identifier. Yes. Okay. All right. Great. Yes. Perfect. I love it. That's more than I expected, actually. Now, I think that what we're seeing is a similar technological revolution to blockchain itself on an infrastructural technical level with decentralized identifiers. So not too long ago, the World Wide Web Consortium decided to approve the decentralized identifier standard, the DID standard, along with verifiable credential attestations. Why is this important? Well, it becomes a very key piece of the puzzle in solving this vision that we have of Web3. What do people think about when they think about Web3? Well, they think about kind of the counterpoint to Web 2. What's Web 2? Web 2 is centrality. Web 2 is platforms and shareholders getting profits. Web 2 is, well, this Faustian bargain that we made about 15 years ago when we said, oh, free software, that would be amazing. Remember when we had to buy software in boxes at stores and now we just get it free? Because they're able to have a really great revenue model through ad tech. So what we're going to be able to do now is through this key piece of the puzzle of a self-sovereign issued decentralized identifier is to have this nice technical layer that we can map all of these data points that will be created in our Web3 journey. Maybe, hopefully it's not too long from now, that we're doing things like signing on to our browser experience, sharing with brands, our decentralized identifiers, et cetera, et cetera. And why would you want to do this? Well, it's so you can leverage the full weight of your identity, okay? So, and our identity is not just reducible to an Ethereum wallet address. So this is why, I often get the question of, well, wouldn't it just be fine if you just did, an ENS? Well, yes, it is, and that's part of the picture, but you need more than that. And decentralized identifiers allow you to write off-chain information or map off-chain information as well as on-chain information because our identities, in fact, are mutable. They're not immutable. It's a bad idea probably to just like have on-chain information as the sole repo of your identity. And this is why I became so passionate 2 years ago when I had a friend tell me about decentralized identifier, why we decided at NFT3 Labs to get some resources together and to build this out. Today, we have about 470,000 user accounts for our flagship product, which is called isme.is. And I'd say about half of those are real. We had to do a little bargain with the devil and do airdrop to get our adoption level going, but we can say half of those are verifiably real with the various linkages that we have with, like, say, Twitter or different wallet addresses that have cryptographically signed off on these accounts. So I would put that number around 235,000 DIDs that we've created with isme.is, and it's growing. Now, the name of the game for us, for our strategy, is to try to get as many people adopted into the DID world and in understanding the DID narrative is possible. So that in, maybe the next time I get invited to come speak at NFT NYC, we've got more than half the room raising their hands that they've created a decentralized identifier. Unfortunately, we don't have yet an application layer where people can really leverage their decentralized identifiers, but I expect this to happen soon in the same way that, say, we didn't have stable coins to fully leverage the full weight of what you could do with your crypto assets. So yeah, I want to open this up. We've got 3 minutes left to see if there may be any questions from the crowd. And that's it. Go to isme.is, get a user account created. You can also get a T-shirt or a sweatshirt. And yeah, welcome. Oh, you got that one. Okay, cool.
You have a question?
Yeah, I've been tracking this industry for at least 5 years, and what I've noticed, there's been sort of a cyclical approach to it. Government was involved. Government, didn't get the right funding for some of the committees, so they went to the Terra initiative. There's a lot of things that have been happening. One thing that concerns me, you've been talking about this, is Microsoft. Microsoft is really pushing their version, of self-sovereign ID. And so if you look at it, they're not fools. Who's doing the most damage to DeFi? Large banks, right? So they're trying to get their claws in there. So what are you doing to, prevent that from happening?
So just to reiterate for the camera.
Pardon?
The question was, what are you doing to prevent some of the negative impacts of banks and centralized institutions? That's an example in the identity space. So please answer.
So co-optation is always a problem, and in any if you're trying to be strategic about a startup or you're trying to be disruptive at some fundamental level to a large industry. And similarly, if you look at an example of, like, say, Elon Musk and the auto industry, that seemed like an instrument, and I'm not going to compare myself either personally or professionally to him, but I would say that this strategy would be similar, right? So you need to have some identification on the part of consumers for what your mission is, right? You need to have a feeling on the part of the incumbents that it's actually not that much of a threat. But my basic answer to you on this is that if indeed they are utilizing decentralized identifier standards that are that result in the individual having control and ownership or repo of the data that is getting mapped to that decentralized identifier, if indeed they're just sort of like plugging that in and saying, okay, we're going to be a Web3 native company, we're going to allow you to accrue data to yourself, and then I think that that's actually fine, because that's at the heart of it. Now, however, if it is coming through some sort of centralized source, or they have some sort of control over it, or they have, like what Sam Altman did with ChatGPT, they flip it when it comes out, now that's a submodel, I think you have a problem. History tells us that usually people are going to be compelled to try to make their shareholders and investors very happy. So usually that means that there needs to be some tempo or some stickiness to a product and some control over it and the profits that may result or revenues that may result. So we're over time, but I think short answer is it's cool if it's in your control. If it's not, not cool. And I think what our mission is, I hope that I'm one of maybe 5 or 6 great projects working in this space. I hope we can all get together and have a similar text spec on our DID methods so that we can align ourselves against that sort of thing.
Awesome.
Yep, thank you very much.
Yes. Can we give Dylan a hand, everybody? And thank you for the question.